Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Proud to be with you inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. You're also watching on Facebook Live on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. Hanging out here where sports meets life. Like I said, inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, Cafe Kubal with 5 locations inside of Galisanos Children's Hospital, as well as 208 North Townsend Street, 401 South Salina Street, 3501 James Street, and where we just were this Tuesday for Coffee with Coach on 324 West Water Street with Carl Sanfilippo. Also want to let you know that they have their mobile cafe that will come to you, and you can schedule that by going to WakeUpCallDT.com, and on the Central New York tab, clicking on Cafe Kubal. The form to sign up for the mobile cafe is right there. And, of course, local delivery. And in Onondaga County, there is no delivery charge. So make sure that if you need to order locally, you do that as well on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can find WakeUpCallDT.com. You can get all the information there as well as by going to CafeKubal.com. That's Kubal. With all of that being said, a fantastic show set up here for you today. MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin' starts off on a Thursday, always with PJ. That is Papa Joe. He'll be joining us in just a second here. We got a lot to get into, a lot to unpack, a lot of stories that are going on. Will Trevor Lawrence play again for Clemson? It looks like LSU's quarterback may not play again for them here this season. And we have college football free agency. What does that mean? Syracuse versus the bye week. Will Syracuse finally get a win after defeating Georgia Tech? Can they defeat the bye week? And we will also get into some other awesome things that are going on in the college football world here with Papa Joe. A lot of great stories, a lot of great opportunities to have a fantastic conversation this morning, including talking about Florida State and the fact that James Blackman, this will make my buddy Evan very happy, he has decided to transfer out of the program, and we'll be talking about that, as well as the Jaguars' state of their team. And does Jake Luton have a chance, if he continues his consistency, to outseat Gardner Minshew? We've been talking all about Trevor Lawrence, not Papa Joe and I, because we believe in Mr. Minshew, but people out there have been talking about, is Trevor Lawrence going to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars? Now the question is, Jake Luton, can he have this opportunity against, is it a viable thing? Is it a real thing, a tangible thing, that he could be fighting Gardner Minshew for the starting job, as well as the rumor that Bill Belichick would come to Jacksonville to coach the team, which I think is undeniably insane. But we'll talk about all of that here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in just a little bit, just in a second here with PJ, but not before I let you know that Nathaniel Joseph, 2023 wide receiver out of the great state of Florida, coming from the Miami area, will be joining us after. So we're all Sunshine State today. The second home of Wake Up Call is in full spotlight today with Papa Joe from the state of Florida, followed by Nathaniel Joseph from the state of Florida as well. Nathaniel will be joining me following his offer from Miami. He told me Miami finally offered. That's where he plays. He plays at Miami Edison. He's got offers from Miami, Notre Dame, Syracuse, Georgia Tech, Penn State, Kentucky, Arizona State, Toledo, FIU, FAU, Rhode Island, and Coastal Carolina, and he's a 2023 recruit, so he's got plenty of time to get plenty of more offers coming from the state of Florida. So we're all Sunshine State. We're happy to be here with you, and with the Sunshine State, we hope we put a smile on your face today. With that being said, let's bring the man into the broadcast. PJ, Papa Joe, how are we doing today?
Oh, good, Dave. It's just so much for the Sunshine State, though. We're in the middle of a tropical storm down here. It's kicking everyone's ass. It came, this storm came from, they all do, they come from Africa, and they come meandering through the Caribbean and mess around and do what they got to do. This hit the Yucatan Peninsula, Nicaragua, and El Salvador, down around there, at a Cat 4. And, they don't live in mansions down over there, so they really got smashed. And then it just took an abbreviated right-hand turn and went up into the Caribbean, again, North Caribbean, about north of Key West, and sat there for a couple of days. And then it geared up again, and then it started coming our way. We weren't ready for this. We thought it was just going to be, go up into the Delta where it's been the last 4 hurricanes have pounded those people. So all of a sudden, the little spaghetti things that they show on the Weather Channel all determined that they're going to come right over St. Augustine.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at, and tropical storms are not hurricanes. They have winds from 50 to 75 miles an hour. That's enough for me. And we got through it last night. A lot of noise when you hear winds like that, and a lot of rain, of course. And we're sitting in the middle of it, and I think we're almost close to the eye, but it's not forming too well. It's losing its shape a little bit, and it's floating out into the Atlantic Ocean, which is good. It'll probably go up to the Carolinas and dump a bunch of rain up there, but I think we're going to be okay. I haven't been outside yet, but it doesn't look like I don't have any danger. My cars are still there. That's all I care about.
Yeah, and obviously staying healthy is imperative, and staying safe, and I hope that you do that and that everything is going to be well. I mean, once this clears, my hope is, I already told my mom, and I've said it repeatedly, that I have every intent to get my butt down there before the end of the year with God's grace and my hope and my prayer to get down there. But please be safe and please be healthy and take care of each other and do what you got to do. The funny thing is when rioting and looting goes on, everybody talks about, wow, I can't believe we're seeing people down, batten down the hatches and latch the doors. But that's what you do in Florida every single year because of the hurricanes. You gotta board up the windows and do all that. So, as always, I just pray and I hope that you are all safe and sound and that Mother Nature is kind and that we get through this thing.
Well, we've been down here for 25 years now, and we've threatened to get hurricane shutters every year when we go through this. Yeah. 6 or 8 or 10 storms come through. So we finally got hurricane shutters, and that's going to put us at ease. We got hurricane shutters going to be on 6 windows.
Good.
4 of them really large and 2 small. So we're happy. We're happy with that. So unfortunately, most of the people don't have hurricane shutters, and it's you see people running around with big 4x8 pieces of plywood, and they're tacking them up on their windows. And that's just a schleppy way of going it, but we're going to have those, and we'll be ready. We'll be ready for next year.
Coming from PJ, got to be safe down in Florida. We send our love and our prayers to everybody that is in any of the paths of these storms, these tropical storms and hurricanes. I pray and I hope that they all not only don't form, but if they do form, that they stay away from everyone. It's important to remember that just because it didn't happen to you doesn't mean it didn't happen to somebody else. So please, actually, this morning, Papa Joe, I think we all need it, and I know that you and I pray together, and I'm going to be picturing your finger pointing to Mary T with your eye open. But if we could say a prayer this morning in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, Amen. God, I pray that you protect everybody in the path of any of these tropical storms, hurricanes, or any type of weather. I also pray and I hope that when it comes to racism, sexism, prejudice, anybody feeling unsafe this election, that we find a way to realize that we are stronger together than apart. I pray that we are safe and healthy and happy, whether it's a natural disaster or something that we can control. I pray that we work our best with what we can control and that we give the rest to you and that we continue to pray to you and hope to you and realize that through you, that is when we could truly find happiness, truly find safety, and truly find ourselves. So, Lord, today, may you not have forgotten us. May you never forget us. And no matter how far this world goes away from you, may you always reach out your arms to hug us and bring us right back. And may we be smart enough and strong enough to accept that embrace and accept that hug. In Jesus' name, amen. In the name of the Father.
Dominus vobiscum.
And what is it? And something to all. I know that I know it.
That's right. You just did. That's right.
So, PJ, please stay safe more than anything else.
We will.
But I think
I'm quarantined again. So I mean, the cases are going up in Florida. We're up over 6,000 a day now. So, this is round number 2 down here, and doesn't get any better. So, but I'm quarantined again. Mary won't let me out anywhere. So, what the hell?
Well, you're quarantined at a time when you would have been in the house anyways due to the storm. So always a positive
Right.
glass half full way to look at it. And listen, Papa Joe, as long as you got your, any Italian family, as long as we got food in the house, if we got to be quarantined, we're going to be quarantined with good company. So make some sauce, relax, and watch some football. What do you think about the fact, and this is kind of where I want to start things today, the fact that football is on every single day? If we go back to last week, there was Thursday night football, obviously, but I want to go through like the whole gamut because it was insane. So there's Thursday night football. Oh, the MAC was on Wednesday. The MAC returned on Wednesday. Then there was Thursday night football. Then I believe there was Friday college games, Saturday college games, Sunday NFL, Monday NFL, Tuesday college football, yesterday college football, today college football and Thursday night football, then college football on Friday, then back to college football again on Saturday, and then the NFL on Sunday and Monday. We have gone a span since last Wednesday to this Thursday of over a week where football has been on every single day, thanks to the return of the MAC and some of these other teams that are willing to play on Thursdays and Fridays and whatnot. What does it mean to you that we have not had a day without football every single day of the week?
Well, I don't particularly care to watch football every day, that's for sure. But what these athletic directors are doing is they're trying to look at their bottom line, trying to come up with some monies, trying to come up with some receipts, come up with anything. They shouldn't be playing. The MAC shouldn't be playing right now. There's no reason for them to be playing. It's just like the Pac-12 out there. They don't need to start and have a 5 or 6 game season, but it's all money. And they're scrambling. They're scrambling and trying to get some receipts and trying to get some assets piled up before the end of the year, before they all show a huge amount of monetary loss. And the SEC certainly is the strongest conference, and they're going to be really close to losing a lot of money. And they're playing, so you go from there. You don't have the stadiums open. You don't have the receipts from the gate. You don't have the popcorn and the beer and the hot dog money. Oh, it's a big change, and the athletic directors are trying to come up with some ideas. And their idea is to keep playing football, even though the SEC's canceling 4 games this week. We keep beating the same horse, and I'm going to say it every week. 6-8 months ago, we said, stop it. We got the Ivy League. They're the smartest guys in the whole world. They're not playing football. So why the hell does everyone else have to play football? This should not have happened. They should have closed everything until the beginning of the year and start all over again. But no, now we're in the middle of this, and everyone's scrambling for the almighty dollar. That's all it is, Daniel.
Well, and the thing is, obviously, you stand to make money if you do this, as you had brought up. But the positive side to me is, I get to see, as long as they stay healthy, I'm going to support it. They stay healthy, stay well, and do things the right way. But I'm excited because my friends are out there. Tim Lester, a good friend of mine, somebody I've known for a very long time, and really, since I want to say at least 7 years, 6, 7 years. So, the time that we've known each other and to see him out there yesterday with Western Michigan, just doing an incredible job. And I talked to you about it. If anybody missed the Western Michigan game, you can see it on my social media. I put the video up of the highlights courtesy of ESPN. I have to let everybody know that I do not own the rights to it, because now when you share things on social media, the Facebook police come and get you. So I have to let you know that it's an ESPN video that I'm sharing because I thought that people should see it. So it's crazy. When you share like a song by somebody, nobody thinks you own the song, but I don't know, whatever. But I digress. So Tim Lester and Western Michigan were down 38-28. And they came down the field, Ellaby completed a bunch of passes, and then they got themselves... it was fantastic. They said something like, you're not going to go deep on a play like this. And Ellaby goes deep as he's saying it, over top of the DB, grabs the ball, gets right toward the 1 yard line. 2 penalties pushes them even closer. Ellaby squeaks it in and pounds it in. And I don't understand how Syracuse seems to not be successful at all with this. But most teams know how to quarterback sneak and get at least a yard. And so they needed not even a yard, and Ellaby was able to get into the end zone. They missed the extra point, and in my head I'm thinking, okay, if they make this extra point, they're down by a field goal, they can force overtime if they get the ball back. And they didn't have any timeouts, Western Michigan. And I was like, what if they missed this extra point? And then they missed the extra point. And then it's 38-34. They go back to the drawing board. They onside kick it. They got two players running at the ball at the same time, crossing, kick the ball. It hits a Toledo player, comes out. I see the guy grab the ball, like right before the pile starts. You see him reach out and grab it for Western Michigan, pull it in, stay on it. He comes out of the pile with it. They check it. There's no penalty. There was, for not touching the ball far enough, this, that, and whatever. It works. It's good. It's done. They get the ball back. There's under 40 seconds to play. Ellaby's completing pass after pass after pass. He gets it there. It's fantastic. And toward the end of it all, which is absolutely incredible, they take it. They get the ball to Eskridge, who's one of their top guys, and I believe he played up against Syracuse last year. He catches the ball. He comes around. He gets within the 10-yard line. They think, and then so you hear, you hear the announcer saying, okay, they're going to spike the ball. They got to spike the ball. They got like 21 seconds or whatever they're going to be. They're going to spike the ball. Ellaby drops back. He fake spikes it. There's no whistle because these stadiums are wide open due to COVID. So you hear nothing, and he tosses the ball, just throws it to the left side of the end zone to a walk-on wide receiver who catches the ball in this amazing fashion, this rainbow to a wide-open player. It goes to Western Michigan, and the win I'm talking about, 41-38, they win the game. It was one of the most amazing finishes I've ever seen of any sport in my life, and the fact that it went to one of my buddies, I'm ecstatic. I called Tim Lester, left him a message last night. You would have thought it was Christmas morning in my house. I was yelling, I'm screaming, I'm holding Lily, I'm jumping up and down, and it was incredible, Papa Joe. And it's moments like that that really remind us how amazing it is just to have a football game, just to see one of your friends have something good happen to them. It's, with everything that we've been through, to see a moment like that, it wasn't a football game to me. It was a bunch of kids not giving up, a bunch of kids believing in themselves, coming together, caring about one another, and one of my closest and dearest friends in the sports community and beyond, him being a father of 3 great boys and a husband, and watching him have such an awesome outcome. It was one of the moments that brought me back to 2020. You can have those feels in those moments, and you can't control everything, Papa Joe, but what we can control, I think people have done a great job, or at least try to do a great job. I hope you have in your life, and I was just so proud to have that moment, and it just made me forget about everything that's been going on, and I was just happy for a friend. So I don't know how to put it into words, but it was one of the greatest moments I've had of this year.
Well, that's good. I'm glad they won for you.
So, usually a man of many words, and I say all that stuff, and Papa Joe goes, that's good. On to the SEC. I'm just kidding. Now, I got to ask you, PJ, and remember this is a family show, but I got to ask you, Jameis Winston played up against his old team of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Drew Brees trounces Tampa on Sunday Night Football. I had Tom Brady. He was projected to have 40 points in fantasy football. I'm thinking, okay, I got a shot to come back. When I got Brady, I always got a chance. And Tom Brady did a whole lot of nothing. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers got embarrassed by the New Orleans Saints the second time around that they played them this season. New Orleans has won both games. This game was ugly. It was trash. Bill Belichick probably giggled a little bit because the Patriots are suffering too. But this game ends, and before it ends, Jameis Winston, the backup quarterback for New Orleans, comes out, relieves Drew Brees, completes a pass, his only pass attempt of the game, just to put him out there. And at the end of the game, Drew Brees is getting interviewed, and Jameis comes over, and he makes the W sign with his hand and puts it in his mouth, and he essentially eats a W. And so, I saw it, and I comedically thought that it was Evan and I because I said to Evan, I was like, I'm Drew Brees and you're Jameis Winston, because he loves Jameis and FSU, and seeing him eat the W and all that stuff, and just the face he made was really funny. But what are your thoughts on famous Jameis, your favorite player that has ever played football? What is your thought on Jameis Winston getting in to just lower that final moment, that's sweet reward of Tampa Bay letting him go, and then them beating Tampa Bay by 35 points, and Jameis coming in at the end of the game and having a little celebration with Drew Brees?
That was an awful game by Brady. I mean, it was awful. I mean, he looked lost. He very rarely lost. He hasn't been lost in 20 years. But he just didn't have it. I don't know what he saw out there, but whatever he was seeing, he wasn't completing. And it was just an old-fashioned ass whipping is what it was. And Drew Brees is, he's one of my heroes. I mean, he and Brady and Aaron Rodgers, I just love those guys because of their longevity and their excellence over the years. Jameis, they were lucky. Someone was lucky to pick up Jameis, and it was New Orleans. And Jameis will be a good backup quarterback for Brees. I'm not sure they're going to use Jameis when Brees retires, if that's the case. But Jameis is certainly, we know he's got skills. He may be an idiot, but he's got skills, and he's going to do a good job for New Orleans. But until Brees gives up the ship, no one's going to take anything from him over there. And New Orleans looks like a serious contender here, and I didn't think going into this year that they would have that kind of team, but they certainly do. And adding Jameis as an insurance policy for Brees is a good idea.
Yeah, and it's been pretty awesome here to see that and to have that happen. So I'm very, very happy to see this coming up and. I'm happy for New Orleans, for the city of New Orleans, to see, what they've been able to do. I mean, like you said, it's been unexpected. Not that they're not going to win. There's always a chance they're going to win the division every year of the NFC South since Brees got over there, really. But to see what they've been able to do this season and how Tom Brady has not had a response to Drew Brees. So it's been absolutely incredible. And then Greg said, "There we go, our weekly Jameis reference. My day is complete," is what he said. So famous Jameis.
I had to do it. I knew he was listening out there.
Well, you got to eat a W. You got to eat a W, Papa Joe. But
that's good. I'm happy for Breeze and happy for New Orleans. They're going to be a force again this year, and I look forward to watching them. I try to catch them on TV a lot, but. And this game was in Tampa Bay too, which made it even worse. I mean, I don't know where Tampa goes from this. I don't know if Arians has any ideas. Maybe he just throws the whole thing out the window and puts it in the garbage and says, "Let's forget about last week and let's get a new week and see where they go."
Yeah,
they need to come back real sharp here because they got a lot of money invested in that team, and it's a very good team with Brady with it. He's got. Going to have three really super wide receivers. They run. They do it all. They got a good defense. For whatever reason, they didn't show up the other night, and Jameis and the boys took over.
Yeah, and it was awesome, and I think I love the fact that even when you were positive toward Jameis, even when you said he's a good backup, it's good for me to be there. I'm still an idiot, but I'm still happy for him. Yeah, you still got it in, and don't think I didn't hear it, Papa Joe.
No.
I heard it. But Greg, I want to give Greg Eckert, who we're talking about here, who loves the Papa Joe Jameis references every week. I want to give him a shout out because he remembered a very special day today in my life. He said, "Is this a big day for the host?" And today, November 12th, 2020, is my 200th. Can't believe I'm saying this because I feel like I just said 100. But this is my 200th consecutive day of going at least 10,000 steps a day. And in this past week, yesterday I went over 11. I went over 24,000 within this past week in one of the days. And so today will be a very special, probably very emotional day for me, 200th day in a row. and Greg remembered. And it's funny, I woke up this morning and I go, I wonder if he's going to remember. Because out of nowhere, he sent me a congratulations and has been remembering the path. And I think it's, insane that somebody remembers this stuff, especially in today's world where it seems like a lot of people just think about themselves. Greg said November 12th is a memorable day for his family as well. It's the day he finalized his adoption of his baby girl. So I want to give a big shout out today to Alexis Nicole that, everything went through. The adoption papers went through November 12th back in the day. And so to the Eckert family, may God bless you, keep you safe, healthy, strong, happy. And to Alexis, may you have a fantastic life, an amazing journey. And may your family always be blessed, and may you all have a great journey together and a great time. So I just wanted to shout out Alexis today. Greg, you remembered me, and I want to put out a very nice memory here for you today. So shout out to Alexis, and the importance of adoption and the importance of, if you have a baby and worry about taking care of it or whatnot, understand that there's so many families out there that would love the opportunity to have a child and have been on a waiting list forever. So to everybody that came through, and God that came through above all, that you could adopt Alexis, I'm very happy for you, and I congratulate you. And Papa Joe, I think that's a great thing to celebrate today.
Absolutely. Well, we have another celebration today, too.
Yes, sir.
And that is my mother, your Aunt Dorothy, went to heaven today. On November 12th. Well, I remember, what day is it? Yeah. She went to heaven today. That's been 6 years ago.
So we will, November 12th has turned into a lot of things lately. And, when I found out November 12th was going to be my 200th day, after I found that out, I started hearing all these things. Greg saying about that, you saying about that. There's something to be said about November. It's shaping up to be a very incredible day. So I would like to, I know that I am not the governor of New York. One could only wish. I'm not the mayor of Syracuse. I don't hold any office to make this into law, but I am a child of God, and I am a firm believer in God, and I know Aunt Dorothy was and always will be, and I know she's giving him hell right now with Megan and my G-Mama. So what I would like to say, because I feel that it needs to be said, Papa Joe, may November 12th, just as I count other days in our history, not as a sad day, not as a day where we wear black and we feel down, but if anybody knew my Aunt Dorothy and anybody knew my G-Mama, you know that they are very, very, very positive people, glass half full people. They love their donuts, they love their children and their grandchildren, they loved each other, and they love God, and they love their life. So may November 12th, today, let's secure it, Papa Joe. I stamp it into existence. May today, November 12th, always be remembered as Aunt Dorothy Day.
That's right. That's good. I like that, Tanner. I like that.
So Dorothy,
you would appreciate that.
So November 12th is DD, Dorothy Day. And I know she would do her little dance if she was here. So happy Dorothy Day. We can also call it Kigley Day, Papa Joe. We know that.
Yeah,
so.
Kigley Day, right? Half Moon Day too.
Yeah,
she ate half moons their entire life, for crying out loud. Every time we go to Lincourt Bakery, I'd have to get a half a dozen of they're called black and whites, but I don't, that's what they call them. But we just love them.
Yeah, and
had to buy them every time.
And Aunt Dorothy must have been speaking through people this week, because I put up that I brought Evan to Utica Pizza to get chicken riggies and Utica greens, because to me they're absolutely phenomenal there, and I think they're the best. And so we went out there and we got them there, and I put up a picture and I said, when you bring your brother to when your brother's in your hometown, you got to bring him to the Staples. And two people wrote to me, where are the black and white cookies? And I always called them half moons, and Evan calls them black and white. And in New York City, they call them black and white. And I was sitting here this week going, why are people calling them black and whites? They're half moons. But Aunt Dorothy and G-Mama love them. And now you brought them up today. So I can only believe that Aunt Dorothy is asking us from heaven to bring her some Half Moon cookies.
Yeah.
You know,
Publix, the big Publix, the supermarket stores down here, they carried him for a long time, and then they decided not to carry him, and they came in these. Then they carried him again, but they're not made right there at the store. They're pre-made, and they look like hell, and they taste like hell. So she said, I can't eat those, Joey. Give me something else. So I did. So that was last year of her life. Yeah, she started eating. She liked the cinnamon crullers. That's what she was having before she passed away. So, Dorothy and Marie and Meg are up there raising hell, I'm sure.
Oh, I am more than positive. I think God's probably going, I should have rethought their dormitory situation, because if he put them all close to each other, he's in a lot of trouble right now. I know my grandma went up there and got up there in the big chair, and God came over and said, "What are you doing?" "That's for my son." And she goes, Jesus told me I could. I know that's how they're acting up there. But may today always be remembered as Dorothy Day. And today, have a Half Moon on Aunt Dorothy. And if you're going to get one, go to Linkport Bakery. If you go anywhere else, make sure that it's made local, in-house. But I would tell you, beyond any reasonable doubt, yes, they taste different when you go to a big box store. Yes, the icing is kind of sticky, and it tastes almost like fake. So, go to Linkport Bakery and get a Half Moon today for the love that we have in our life and that we'll always have, and that's Miss Dorothy. So, Papa Joe, I'm very excited today on November 12th to celebrate your mother and have Dorothy Day.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. That's a nice tribute.
So, with that being said, we're going to take a quick step aside for a fast break. When PJ and I come back, we got a lot to discuss, a lot to sift through. You see all the logos underneath Papa Joe. I got to keep adding logos. I don't know if I'm going to have enough. I got the NCAA for college football. We have Syracuse, the Florida Gators, Florida State, Clemson, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. A lot to get into, plus our picks of the week, couple NFL picks, and a few picks for college football. And I just want to let you know, Papa Joe, before we go to a fast break, I did this just because I knew that you were going to have something to say about it. I could have put the logos in any order. I put the Gators and FSU right next to each other for you.
Oh, Daniel, how could you do that?
But,
my goodness.
but, I have the Gator facing the Seminole as if it looks like it's going to eat it. So the Gator chomp is there. So I did do that for you. As much as they're together, it looks like the Gator has the advantage. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back with Papa Joe, we'll have plenty to discuss here in the college football world and beyond right after this here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, where sports truly meets life.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets life. Be hanging out with you inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, and of course on Facebook Live as well, on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. Always happy to be here with you and spend some time together. So I thank you so much for spending your Monday through Friday mornings with us, as well as those of you that come in and watch the show and listen to the show after the fact. You can get us on our archives, and I suggest that you do so. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on any of these outlets. If you go to MixLR, which some of you listen live to every Monday through Friday morning, that is our internet streaming radio. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call DT on MixLR, and you could go to the MixLR app, or you could go to MixLR.com and search Wake Up Call DT. You can also search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and so much more. Find it, like it. It's all free. It's all good, and you can connect with us there 24/7, 365, and we are always happy to be there with you. So, like I said, inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, I'm very proud to be here with Papa Joe every single Thursday of the week, and you can rely on a lot of things when it comes to it. When PJ and I are on the show, you can rely on awesome sports talk. You can rely on faith being at the center. You can rely on positivity. You can rely on laughter. And you can always bank on a Jameis Winston comment. So all of those things will always find you on Thursday mornings. PJ, we got a lot of logos underneath you, so let's run through them here. The first one, the NCAA logo, that stands for College Football Free Agency. We're seeing a lot of changes. We're seeing the fact that Trevor Lawrence, I guess we could talk about Clemson, their logo's under you too. Trevor Lawrence, the fact that he may or may not be coming back to the team. And he has decided, I believe he said he's not going to talk about it anymore. He's just going to make his decision when he makes his decision. But we live in a world right now where we could see players leave. And, you know, they could be injured, they could be out due to COVID, whatever it may be. But, I've seen it in Syracuse as players are injured or things go on. There's the reality of it all that, they might just go. They get hurt and they say, okay, you know what, I'm going to go. Or COVID-19 happens, they have a week to kind of look back and they say, I'm going to go. So, as we look at it right now, Trevor Lawrence, who was projected before he even got into college football to be the top college football player in America, the number one recruit with all positions put together. And now we're looking at the fact that his words is, we've seen a lot of different things from him and a lot of different words. But speaking with reporters, he reiterated a lot of the talking points, that he's focused on playing out the season, doesn't know what the future holds. But, he said, quote, my mindset has been that I'm going to move on, but who knows? There's a lot of things that could happen, end quote. We also see, the reality that's he could not. He could finish out the season. He could save his body and not have to deal with any of this stuff anymore. He was out 2 games. They lost to Notre Dame without him. And, does that ultimately affect him? The fact that he didn't play in that game against Notre Dame and, now Clemson has 1 loss on the season. What are your thoughts on the Trevor Lawrence saga and the fact that COVID-19, obviously gets involved with all of this? It affects Trevor Lawrence, and now it could ultimately affect Clemson. and it looked like he was going to play out the season for him, but with being out 2 weeks, not playing that Notre Dame game, losing to Notre Dame at Notre Dame, now there's the thought that he may not play out the rest of the season and just kind of pack it in and get ready for the draft.
Well, that's pretty tough right there. These kids these days, they don't value education as much as I did when I was growing up. I don't want to compare eras here, but all they're thinking about is where they're going to go to get to the next step to make any money in the NFL. That's all it is. Whether you're a wide receiver for FSU right now or even Trevor Lawrence, if these kids don't want to play, they're not going to play, or they're going to go play for someone else and try to get looked at and try to get drafted and try to make money. That's all it is. Now, Trevor Lawrence is no dummy. He's going to graduate in December with a degree. So, what's he got left to prove? I mean, he was an All-American and a hero when he was a freshman. I don't see where this is going to go. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't. I would be surprised if he doesn't play the rest of the year, mainly because he's with his team. He's real close to coaches and stuff like that. But frankly, the way you put it, he has nothing left to prove. I mean, he's going to be 1, 2, or 3, no matter what the draft says, 1, 2, or 3, and between Mac Jones and Justin Fields and him, I mean, these guys are going to go fast. And Fields made the right move by getting out of Clemson and going up there. Or was it? Yeah. Anyway, these 3 guys are going to be 1, 2, 3 in whatever order they want, and I think they're all looking at the money. And that goes for any player who decides not to re-up or not to continue playing with the school. They were trying to get their education, but I think it just has to do with not valuing education as much as we do, and thinking about where they're going to land in the pros if they do get pros.
And if we look at the mock draft right now, to kind of bring it all together, we're going to talk about the Jaguars here today, but might as well bring it together. Some of the mock drafts out there have Trevor Lawrence going first to the Jets, Justin Fields going second to the Jaguars. Gardner Minshew, you and I support it. We like it. We enjoy it. I think he's been fantastic. At the same time, I will tell you that if the Jacksonville Jaguars have an opportunity to draft Justin Fields, that is a potential franchise-changing player. Not that Gardner Minshew can't change things. I'm just saying, with Ohio State, with that connection, with those fans that are going to support him wherever he goes, on top of the fact that jersey sales and the kind of reinvigoration of Jacksonville, I don't know what you think about it, Papa Joe, but if Justin Fields gets drafted by the Jaguars out of Ohio State, there is something really, really remarkable that could happen. Remember, this is the guy that put out a petition to the Big Ten to return to football in the fall, which they ultimately did, and he had over 200,000 signatures, so including my own. So, Justin Fields, what are your thoughts? If Jacksonville has the chance, do they take him?
I'm not a Justin Fields fan. I mean, he's a good quarterback. There's too much of the season left to play. We got a lot to play for in Jacksonville yet. We got Luton, who's going to start now, and we don't know what's going to happen to him the next 3 or 4 games. The number 2 pick could be a trade bait too if Luton turns out to be good, really good, or the next coach that comes in, and certainly there's going to be a whole new regime come in. General manager is all the way down. Is going to have a different light on things too. I mean, he may like Luton, he may like Minshew, or the both, or he may trade the number 2 pick for another number 1 or whatever. I don't see these guys progressing as far as they want to progress.
Yeah.
I think that they need to finish. I think they need to finish out their college careers, and then we'll have this conversation at the end of December. And if Justin Fields is still doing what he's doing, which he's doing a great job, then he could conceivably be number 1. I like Mac Jones a lot, and you just don't come into Alabama and do what he's doing after what happened at LSU last year with Joe Burrow. I mean, Mac Jones could slash all his records. And then you got Kyle Trask for us, who's doing a heck of a job, but he's not going to be. He'll be a first-round pick, but he's not going to be in those top 3. So it's Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and it's Mac Jones. In what order what order you want, I don't particularly care. But the Jaguars need to sit back, stop putting all this stuff out there. Don't put any innuendos out there. Don't put any rumors out there. Play the rest of the season. You still got stuff to play for. See what Minshew does. If he comes back, he may not come back, or let's see what Luton does. Luton has got a big time. I watched the game. I was really impressed with this kid the way he threw it. I mean, he threw a ball to Chalk that was just right on a dime. Darn. I mean, it was just Minshew couldn't have thrown it that far. Poor Gardner. I don't want to bash him or anything, but he couldn't have thrown it that far. I mean, that was 50 yards in the air, right on a dime. So I'm excited. Of course, they got a terrible schedule coming up. They got to play the Packers, which is no bargain. It'll probably be snowing up there, for all we know. And then they got to play the Steelers eventually. So the schedule doesn't look good for them. But I think Luton's he's got something that Minshew had. He's got that look about him. He's got that feel about him. You know, and then he ran the ball in on a defensive back and made a spin move on him. The guy grabbed it air. I mean, it was a hell of a move. So I'm excited for what do I say this every week, don't I, Daniel? I'm excited for the Jaguars because there's something different coming up. And here we got Gardner Minshew who's still got a fractured thumb, and this kid Luton coming in here and lighten up the place. So he looked awful savvy for a rookie. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, you know, and Jake Luton, he did. He had a huge pass. And the thing that I love is, and I said, like, the boomer, I did this on the show, the boomer when Jake Luton was taking off and running, and I saw this in real time, running toward the end zone, and then he sees the defender between him and the end zone, and he did the whoop, you know, and he did the spin move. He did that spin move and got into the end zone, and he was excited. He was lit. He was having fun. It was a great time, and so, you know, credit to him for that. I want to stay in the state of Florida. We're kind of having all of our conversations at once, which is what a typical Italian family does. But to talk about Florida State here, you know, Florida State lost 3 players in like one foul swoop. They lost defensive tackle Marvin Wilson, receiver Tamorrion Terry, and quarterback James Blackman, but in different ways. So Wilson, who we look at potentially being an early drafted player in the 2021 NFL draft, won't play. He has an unspecified injury that kept him out of the Pittsburgh game. And it's not to say that the players are lying or the school is this and that. In a year of COVID, with everything going on, when a player doesn't play due to an unspecified injury, Trill Williams for Syracuse as well, and then within a week declares for the NFL draft, I'm sitting here going, is it an injury or is it just, you know, a way to say I'm out? And there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just kind of like the guy gets hurt. We don't know how, we don't know where, we don't know when, and then they declare for the draft. Trill Williams did it at Syracuse, Marvin Wilson doing it at Florida State. Now, but Mike Norvell, the head coach, did say this. He said Marvin had a slight procedure that was done, and he'll be back to full speed here really soon. I appreciate Marvin and the leader. He's worked to be a lot of these young guys in all aspects of He's worked to be to a lot of these young guys in all aspects of what he does. He's still going to be around each and every day, encouraging guys at practice. I hate for him that he's not going to be able to finish up the season, end quote. So he did say there was a procedure done. We look at Wilson in 6 games, had 17 tackles, 2 for a loss and a sack. He blocked a kick against Georgia Tech as well. So he has moved forward. And then we look at a redshirt junior wide receiver in Tamorrion Terry, who I interviewed just about a year ago at ACC kickoff. He started 4 games this season. He's done with the Seminoles. He's no longer with the program, but this is a little bit of a different situation. Now, Tamorrion Terry came off a season last season where he led the team with 1,188 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns. However, this year he's had a knee injury that required surgery and also had to deal with the unfortunate, and I pray for him and his family and all of his loved ones and his grandmother in heaven. And for him, he had to deal with he had to mourn the loss of his grandmother before the season opener against Georgia Tech this season. So my best to the Terry family. It says, he said this, quote, "It breaks my heart that I cannot finish what I started here at Florida State. I came back for a reason, and while I fell short of that goal. I hope you know that I gave it my all through personal loss and injury. Ultimately, I didn't think I could help my teammates to the best of my ability the rest of the season, and I decided the best choice was for me to use this time to heal and recover. I'm not sure what the next chapter will be for me, but I'll always have love for FSU. Go Noles, end quote. So he is now gone. And then Mike Norvell said, quote, I had a conversation with James Blackman, and we had a really good talk. James discussed the interest in being able to explore other opportunities after he graduates here from Florida State. It's something I support. James and I have really developed a good relationship over the last 9 months, and I appreciate all the work he's poured into this program. End quote. James Blackman, of all the losses to Florida State, some people will tell you this is not a great one. So Tamorrion Terry will, definitely 1,100 plus yards. Marvin Wilson, a captain in the team and a representative that is outspoken when, and when he feels like he needs to say something, he will put it out there, as we saw early on before the season even started. But James Blackman has been the starter, not because necessarily he was the best quarterback out there, but he was kind of the guy that they thought would be, the hype would show, and then it didn't, and then he got hurt, and it feels like he's been there for like 8 years. But James Blackman has had some issue, and getting ousted and benched, he came in recently when the starter went down and promptly threw an interception. So he is leaving Florida State after things really haven't gone well there. What are your thoughts, PJ, on Marvin Wilson, who's a talent, Tamorrion Terry, who's a talent, who I would guess would probably head toward the NFL if he feels he can, if he feels healthy enough to do it, or maybe he needs another season, and then James Blackman, who will undoubtedly try to find a team he can play for immediately?
Well, I think Coach Norvell has come in and he's laid down the law. I think he's not going to put up with any junk. Yeah. And we may not know this, but these three guys may not fit in to the culture that he's trying to start over there. And look, from being down here, from what I read all the time, and having family over there near Tallahassee,
yeah,
Mike Norvell has a terrible job. I mean, it was a big job, a terrible job for him to get. Jimbo just loaded up with a bunch of renegades, and now he's stuck with it. Now, Mike Norvell is a good coach, and he's a good recruiter. But, the people in Tallahassee have got to give this guy some space. I mean, they got to, let him do his thing, let him clean house, and try to win some games. I know he's not going to win any this year. He's getting killed just about every week. And he's playing North Carolina State this week. That's not going to be easy. So, he's got to measure what he's doing. He's got to try to figure out what kind of kid that his recruiting isn't that bad. And I think they're number 23 or 24 or something like that. And he doesn't have a bunch of 4 stars. He got a whole bunch of 3 stars.
Yeah.
But he needs to bring in his own type of player. And it's quite frankly, those 3 guys did not fit in the mold that he's looking for.
Well, and speaking here with Papa Joe this morning inside of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora here in the Cafe Kubal studios, having a conversation about Florida State as well as Trevor Lawrence with Clemson, Jake Luton. Greg, who loves your Jameis comments, he put bootin' scootin' Jake Luton. I like that. I think that's good. And I love country music, so that bootin' scootin' Jake Luton, I think we can make a dance to that. I think I might have to make a bootin' scootin' Jake Luton dance. And maybe it's a dance he can do in the end zone when he does another whoop into the end zone for the touchdown. So
I really missed the Boomer over the years. I grew up listening to the Boomer, my son. We had to listen to Boomer every Sunday afternoon. Him and Tom Jackson and CC and the coach. Those guys were the living legends on the TV. But things change. ESPN had to make some difficult decisions. They call difficult decisions. Look at those guys. Chris Berman and the boys. They didn't acclimate themselves to the young crowd, should I say, coming up. They wanted some different kind of announcers. That they wanted some. Well, how can I say this gently? They wanted. I forget about it. They just said that I'm going to miss Tom Jackson and I miss the Boomer. I missed all of those guys because they were the hallmark of ESPN, and then they went ahead and made some changes, and you see what's happened. It's an indoor-outdoor. That woman gets fired, they bring another guy in, that guy leaves. It's just not right. It's not fair. So Boomer's out doing something now. I mean, I think he's got just a show on Sunday or something like that, or Sunday night or something like that. But that was one of the trademark calls. Was whoop, and that was it.
Yeah. And the rumbling, stumbling, fumbling. There's that one too.
Fumbling, right.
Yeah, and then there's the and he's gonna be down, and he's gonna be, and then you just see the Mike Allstott just break through a bunch of people. The thing is, I don't just remember what Boomer said. I remember the play. I remember the Mike Allstott play. I remember, Curtis, my favorite Martin. I remember all of that stuff, and that shows you the greatness. And I think you know this. I'm pretty sure that I told you this, but when I was covering one of the Jaguars games, Chris Berman, for whatever reason, was there broadcasting. I mean, obviously for that reason, but I was surprised to see him there. And he was broadcasting. He was in a private part of the press box, but right next to where I was. And he came out, and I was like, I got to talk to this guy. And I didn't say, and I think at first he walked by, and then walked by. I was like, excuse me, Mr. Berman. I said, I just want to let you know. I said, my name's Dan Tortora. And he said, what's that? And then he's like, what's that? I said, Dan Tortora. He's like, okay, I wanted to remember your full name. And I said, yeah. And I was like, I just wanted to say thank you, because as a kid growing up, I loved watching you. I loved everything that, you did, all the conversations that, just the way you went about what you did. It meant a lot to me. It really touched my life. And I'm so, happy to have seen that. It meant the world to me. I was like, you and Stuart Scott and all that. And he said, Dan, that means a heck of a lot to me. Put his hand on my shoulder, and he goes, it really does. I appreciate it. And then he went to like the bathroom or to get something to eat or whatever. He came back. He stops. He puts his hand on my shoulder. He goes, I want you to know that really does mean a lot to me. He goes, I'm not gonna forget that. And I just remember, like, he was humble, he was kind. The people you look up to growing up, you never know how they're going to be in real life. And I can tell you that Chris Berman really just made my day. But he told me that I made his day, and I was like, I don't know how that's possible, Chris. But just the fact that a guy who's been probably told a million times how great he is at what he does. And when he said to me, when he put his hand on my shoulder, he goes, I really appreciate that, Dan. Thank you for sharing these words with me. I'm not going to forget that. And
no, there's only one Boomer. Of course, there's a Boomer Esiason.
Yeah. But
there's only one Boomer, and he will forever. I'll never forget him. And I try to catch him from time to time, but I don't listen. I don't listen to any sports shows anymore. I can't stand ESPN. The new format they got. I'm just an old timer. I guess I'm an old fuddy-duddy. But Boomer came along and sort of gave ESPN a big uplift, and those guys rode that show forever. And I never missed a week.
Yeah.
Until they left.
Well, it's a beautiful thing, and Stuart Scott, Rich Eisen was my favorite tandem.
Stuart Scott, right?
Tom Jackson, Chris Berman on Sunday. I was always hoping that we would get out of because I had to go to confirmation class, and I was always hoping we would get out of confirmation class in time for me to see the replays of the day, and the Boomer and Tom Jackson talk about it, and I'd be sitting there waiting. And in my teacher Paul Lohman was there, and I was like, can I, and he's looking at me, and he kind of almost like wanted it to be like a minute before, like just to kind of see what means more to you, God or sports. I was like, God, can I go home now? Like, God means the world to me. But I live I could run home. I wasn't that far away, but I was like, God means the world to me. I said, and I would also like to go home and relax and see this. And, it was something that as a kid, it calmed me down. And, it was something I look forward to every week. So I love you, Boom. I appreciate you. And I'm more than happy that I got to meet you. So with that being said, PJ, we got a couple more things to get to here. I got asked if Syracuse is ever going to be good in any sport again. And, they've been really good in field hockey. They've had great moments in soccer. If we're talking about football, if you're talking about football to the world, that's soccer. Yeah, they're good. But if you're talking about American football, well, we're in some trouble. And, I hope that they defeat the bye week this week. But They're 1-7. They got 3 more games left. The games are at Louisville. They are terrible when they play at Louisville. They have a game at Notre Dame, who just took down Clemson, granted without Trevor Lawrence, and my guy DJ Uiagalelei, DJ Uiagalelei. But you're gonna do it someday, Papa Joe Uiagalelei. But he did his job, did an awesome job. And so Syracuse has to play Notre Dame on the road, Louisville on the road, and NC State at home. I don't envision them winning any of these games, and that's not me being a pessimist, and that's not me being a jerk. I have a job as a broadcaster. I was born and raised in Syracuse. I've been around this team my entire life, and I have to be honest with you. I think this is a 1-10 season. I never thought I'd see it twice. I shouldn't say I never thought it because I know they've been through turmoil. I was hoping that I would never see it twice because I saw it under Greg Robinson. So my question to you, PJ, is what are your thoughts on Syracuse at 1-7? And, can they have first pick in the draft? I mean, I guess is my question.
Well, it's not a very good situation, obviously, and we're dealing with 2 1-7 teams, and neither one of them may not win a game for the rest of the year.
Right.
However, I do follow women's basketball, college basketball, and I know that Syracuse is ranked every year, and they're ranked again this year for women's college basketball. So, you'll have some fun doing those games. But to answer your question, I think that Dino Babers' area, I think, is going to be gone. And unfortunately for you guys, because he's a nice man, I think he's a good coach. It's just I don't know whether he's lost the club, lost the locker room or what, but it's not working for him anymore. So maybe it's time to move on. And if the powers to be at Syracuse can ever loosen the purse strings a little bit and bring in a really super offensive coach that recruits well, then maybe you can get competitive again. But you got a beautiful stadium up there, and I go back to the old days when I had to walk up that hill to Archbold Stadium. That was a terrible trek for me. But no reason Syracuse can't be good in the future. I think it's going to have to be done with a whole new staff, though. Yeah,
and I agree with you. And they talk about the buyout for Dino and $17 million and this, that, and whatever. But 1-10 is 1-10, and again, it's not 1-10. It's 4-8, 4-8, 10-3, 5-7, 1-10. And the reality of you went up the hill and came down it extremely fast. And I think it's disrespectful to Scott Schaefer that they told him he wasn't good enough. And he was, he went to a bowl game like Dino, and he went 4-8 like Dino. And Dino's best year was with Scott's best players. So, there's something to be said about that. And Tim Lester in Western Michigan that just kicked some tail last night that I spoke about earlier in the show today, inside of the Cafe Kubal studios here on Wake Up Call. Tim Lester was the guy that brought in Eric Dungy. He's the one responsible. He's the one that was in Scott Schaefer's ear about it, and he's the one that had to leave and kind of be heartbroken that he couldn't be there to continue to groom and teach Eric Dungy, and he wanted to groom and teach Rex Culpepper because he thought Rex was like a Tebow and that he could run him like that and do different things with him like that, and he never got the chance to with Rex from HP Plant out of Tampa. So there's a lot to be said about what's gone on, and reality is reality. This is where the team is at. They don't recruit locally. They don't connect to the local community. They don't have a connection to the young players in this community because they don't recruit them, so then they don't have a connection to the families, and they don't connect to the over 1,500 alumni who have come on this show in droves to tell me that they don't feel appreciated, they don't feel respected. And Papa Joe, you've dealt with money plenty of times in your career. I've had people come on this show, former Syracuse football players come on this show and say there are alumni that have money, they have checks that are ready to be mailed out, and all they want in order to mail out that check to give back to the program that they love is for Dino to talk to them, Dino to welcome them back in, Dino to just, admit that they exist in the world. And because he won't do it, they won't send their checks. And I find that to be insane that you have money you're leaving on the table, recruits you're leaving on the table, alumni you're leaving on the table, history you're leaving on the table, and I don't know how you win with doing all that.
I'm going to give you a thought because you're You're a sharp guy. You're an orator. You certainly can talk. You can speak in any different setting.
Thank you.
I'm thinking that you could represent the frustrated people out there. Talk to the athletic director in a setting where there's more than the athletic director there, his entire staff, and say, listen, as a resident of this town and representing all the people that I see come through my show, you are doing a lot of fundamental things wrong. This is what I see, and this is what I hear. And give them a list. Just give it to them, and say, this is my opinion. No one solicited to it. Papa J didn't say do it. This is a lot. This is a lot of frustration of me coming out, and I want to address you about these problems, and I want to address the situations that you bring up that are uncomfortable for me as a broadcaster, where I can't ever get any information out of you. Why is that? Just give them both barrels. You'd have to come up with a pretty long speech, but I think you could put enough into it where, if they even accept it, that would be something that you could probably put a feather in your cap. Now, it may work against you. They may be pissed off at you and say, listen, this guy's never coming in our bowl again. So I don't think so, but if they're smart, they would say, this is what I'm hearing and seeing from the sports community out there. This is what I'm seeing and hearing.
And I appreciate that. And, and that I never thought in a million years that I would be, essentially the representative of, representing these players. I never thought that would be a place that I would be living in right now, where they would be coming on the show and we would be having these conversations. I never thought, because I never thought that a coach would turn their back on the alumni. I never thought that Syracuse. It doesn't make any logical sense to me. And this is the thing: I have a good relationship with Dino. I respect Dino. I have, given him respect since before the moment he walked through the door. I've sat down and I've talked with him, and to me, what really is just hitting me is you don't open practice, but we all know what you run already, so you're not hiding anything. You don't open practice, which to me in Syracuse from numerous coaches has been a sign of losing. The coaches that haven't opened practice have not had good tenures in Syracuse. So, I think that there's that. I think that, there's, when you don't open practice, when you don't allow your assistant coaches to talk to the community and to us, to the media, when you kind of hold them and keep them at bay, as Rob always says, if you can't even name one of the assistant coaches on the team. And so, when you don't have that, and, that happens, if I have a better chance of bumping into a coach at Walmart than I do, actually being at practice, that's really sad. And then you don't recruit the local players. Servassier Dennis is embarrassing you at Pittsburgh, your rival. Stevie Scott is making everybody go, why the hell is the nation talking about this kid from Syracuse, and Syracuse didn't have him? So, it's just the reality of these players that are in Syracuse, in Central New York, in Upstate New York, in the state of New York. They're not just good, they're arguably great. Servassier Dennis will have an opportunity, if he continues his upward trajectory, to play in the NFL. Stevie Scott is going to play in the NFL, God willing. And so, we see this. And we got guys like Tyler Days that are out there doing their thing. There are players from Nottingham, from CNS, from Baldwinsville, from CBA, and so on and so forth, that are making names for themselves from this community. And they're right down the road. CBA has sent John Phillips, Noah Jordan Williams, Stevie Scott, Servassier Dennis, and on and on and on and on and on to college football, Division 1A. And Dino could ride a skateboard, rollerblade, take a tricycle. Heck, he could put a kite out in the air and have the kite pull him, and he'd be at CBA in 15 minutes. So, it's beyond me, and it is a problem. And I would say this about any coach. It could be Bob Smith, Sheila Davis. I'm just making up names, but if you don't recruit in your local community, and if I have people coming on my show, and Syracuse University should be listening to this, if I have people coming onto my show that played for your program, that don't feel respected, don't feel liked, don't even know if their picture's going to be up, don't even know if they're going to be on the wall when they come in there, if you've totally erased them and forgotten them completely. They have checks in their hand. The fact that they are telling me we have money we want to give to the university, because money talks, right? They want to give money, and all they want is for Dino to call them up and say, hey, Blake Bednarz, hey, Michael Owens, hey, Rob Drummond, hey, Todd Philcox, hey, Seamus Shanley, thank you for what you did when you were here. That's all they want. And Chad Mavety added more on top of this, not even meaning to, when he was recruited by Syracuse, went to Florida State, and he told me that Mike Norvell, who wasn't his coach, Chad Mavety played offensive line starter for Florida State for 1 season. He dealt with injury. He transferred from a junior college. This man was not highly starred, wasn't highly recruited. And when he got to Florida State, he loved it there. He went back there recently. Mike Norvell knew who he was, knew him by name, knew when he played, and welcomed him in with open arms. So you look at the programs that are out there doing these things. Florida State's not going to be down forever. Okay? And I've heard from Tennessee and what they do with their alumni. You see and you hear these things, and the beauty of it, it doesn't make any logical sense to push back your alumni, to keep them out. Kyle McIntosh told his story. He came up for my CNY Pop Festival. He was there with Papa Joe. And he brought up his wife and his daughter. And he said, 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to go support Danny, and then I'm going to go to Syracuse, and I'm going to show my wife and my daughter where I made my hay. He knocked on the door. They opened it. And Kyle said, hey, I want to show my wife and my daughter around. And they shut the door in his face.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
So the reality of it all is you are bringing these players to tears. You are making them angry. And in some cases where these players are trainers, they're now training players and recruiting them to go to other schools. Boston College didn't forget about Syracuse. UConn didn't forget about Syracuse. Rutgers didn't forget about Syracuse. The Big Ten in itself did not forget about Syracuse. Colorado State, now that Steve Addazio's there, will not forget about Syracuse. Nick Saban has come up and recruited Syracuse. So the reality of it all is the only place not recruiting Syracuse kids is Syracuse University. That's disgusting. It makes no sense. And how do you expect to build a program when the 1,500 plus football alumni you have, you don't even bother to return their phone calls? And so people might say to me, Dan, why are you being so mean? Why are you being so hard? I'm not being mean and I'm not being hard. I'm asking an honest question. If you love your university, you love your town, you love your program, then why are you doing everything possible to kill the program, delete the program, push down the city, and build a wall between the university and the city? Guess what? Eventually you run out of food and water. Eventually you need our help. You come to us when you put money into the dome and say, you got to help us pay for this. Why? They don't feel loved. They don't feel supported. When you bring a team back that went undefeated in 1987 and you do a 30-year anniversary, and after you didn't do a 10-year anniversary, you didn't do a 20-year anniversary, whatever made you do a 30-year anniversary, you told them that they had to go sit behind the other team at the game. They couldn't stand on the field with the Syracuse players. They couldn't even sit behind them. They had to sit on the other side of the field, and they weren't allowed in the Ernie Davis room, which is a room to honor a former Syracuse player, and they didn't allow former Syracuse players to be honored in that room. So please tell me what this country club is doing for anybody. Anybody. It's not helping us win. It's not helping our community connect. It's not selling tickets. It's not making people want to come to the games. It's not making people want to watch the games. It's not making the alumni happy. It's killing the future of this city because these kids that grew up wearing Syracuse gear, they now hate you. They don't come back. They don't build families here. They don't build businesses here. And they've looked me in the eye and told me that they cannot wait to come back to Syracuse and beat Syracuse's butt because they're mad that they weren't recruited. You are turning away people that are in love with you. You're taking love and turning it into hate, and then you're asking everybody to shut up about it and pretending that it doesn't exist. If you want change, you have to create it. If you want better, you have to make it. And let me just be real with you. Turning away your alumni, turning away your community, and not recruiting locally has made you 1 in 7. So keep doing what you're doing, because this community now supports Indiana, They support Colorado State. They support Buffalo. They support anywhere and everywhere that Syracuse and Central and Upstate New York players are going. Because if you don't support their kids, what do you think a mom and dad is going to do when they grew up loving Syracuse, but they grew up loving but they love their kids? Who do you think they're going to choose? The school that their kid got love from, or the school that spurned their child? These people that love orange and blue will start wearing red and black for Indiana. They'll start wearing gold and maroon for Boston College, because they will always choose their family over the school that forgot about their family.
Yep, you said it all. Let me give you an example real quick here. I know you're running out of time here. When you're a coach at the University of Florida, there are several Gator clubs in the state of Florida in every major city. And I don't care what coach you are, even in Florida State. Florida State has the Seminole clubs throughout the state. That head coach will make it a point to go and talk to each one of those clubs throughout the state.
Yeah.
Jacksonville, Daytona Beach, Orlando, Tampa, Miami, and so on and so on and so on. That's how you gain access to Dan Mullen. That's what you do. He does that for you, and you turn around and do it for him. And Dan Mullen will not miss a Gator club if he's scheduled to be here. And the same with Norville, I'm sure. The Seminole boosters are very strong, and they have a club in every town, just like Florida does. You will see Mike Norville and Dan Mullen at these clubs talking about their teams.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the reality, is that I don't know. I don't know how you build success by pushing everybody away. I don't know how it works, and I don't know how that makes anybody upset. We're asking an honest question. If you don't love the future players and you don't love the former players, then, the players that are there now, they should wonder if they're going to be loved, because in all reality, once they leave the program, who even knows that they were there? I do. The fans do. But do you? And, if you just use somebody for 3 to 5 years, and once they're gone and you can't use them anymore, you go on to the next one, people eventually pick up on that. And that's not the way that I want a program to represent my city. And yeah, I can say whatever the heck I want, with all due respect, because this is my city. I grew up here. I was born and raised here. I would do anything for this city. And I believe the city would do anything for me. So one of two things is going to happen. I'm just going to keep speaking truth until we start respecting and loving these people, or I'm going to run for mayor and do it that way. So, but Papa Joe, with that being said, I do want to do a couple picks here before we hop out of here for the day. I do want to let everybody know that there are obviously some changes to the schedule. That is very unfortunate, and these changes to the schedule have happened because of COVID, and those changes that we have right now, Alabama, LSU will not be, it's postponed. Ohio State and Maryland has been officially canceled. Texas A&M and Tennessee, which we were concerned about, that has been postponed. Georgia and Missouri's been postponed. Auburn, Mississippi State's been postponed. Memphis Navy has been postponed. Air Force Wyoming has been canceled. And Louisiana Monroe and Arkansas State has been postponed. With that being stated, PJ, there's still a long docket that's of games to go through here. I got to ask you one today. I told you November 12th has turned out to be a pretty special day. It's Dorothy Day. It's my 200th day. It's a day where we honor Alexis Nicole for the Eckert family. And it's also a day that Colorado State might create history, and I hope that they do. And it's no offense to Boise State at all. It's, Steve Adazio and Louis Adazio are on the staff there. They both have ties to Syracuse. Louis grew up loving Syracuse. Steve used to coach here under Paul Pasqualoni. I think a perfect coach for the future of Syracuse is Steve Adazio, just my opinion. Or Louis, because he grew up knowing it, loving it. But they are at Colorado State. Today, they're going on the road as the only college football game of the day. Nobody has an excuse to watch anything else. Fox Sports 1 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time will be showing Colorado State at Boise State. The Smurf turf is alive, and Colorado State will try to be the first. They will try to get their first ever win against Boise State. They're the only Mountain West team to not have defeated Boise State in history. Tonight they look to make history. And as everything has been setting itself up on November 12th, I have some feeling that this could be the day. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, Boise State took it on the chin last week when they played BYU, and BYU just beat the hell out of them. They're going to be looking for revenge, and they're playing on that stupid turf. God, that stuff is awful. But I think the Colorado State is going to get a tiger by the tail here. I don't think that Colorado State's going to stay up with Boise State. I think that Boise State comes back from their bad loss and they win this game.
I love your comments. I do. I love the way you say what you say, how eloquent you are. Papa Joe hates it. Boy, that's a stupid thing. That turf. But I love this Smurf turf, and I'm going with Colorado State. I'm going with Steve Adazio, and I'm going with history. I'm going to go with Colorado State in this one and hope for the absolute best. The next game that we have to talk about, PJ, is Indiana and Michigan State. I've picked Indiana every week. They are 3-0. Will Indiana go 4-0, or will they trip up against Michigan State, who beat Michigan and then got absolutely embarrassed the week after?
They will not lose. I was impressed with Indiana's team. I think that is probably the only time I've ever seen Indiana play football on college day. I guess they don't telecast them down here, but they look like killers to me, and I like them an awful lot.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I like them to maybe even challenge for the Big Ten title.
Well, the Big Ten has a rule that if you don't play a certain amount of games that get canceled or whatever, that you can't qualify. And so, they might be the only team left standing, PJ. But Indiana right now is in the nation's top 10. And you want to talk about insult to injury. Temple is a better team. Rutgers is getting better with Greg Schiano, I believe. And Indiana's a team that people didn't even know they had a football program. They're in the nation's top 10. So that should say something. And what did Syracuse say? What did some fans say? Oh, we should get Tom Allen from Indiana. He's not leaving Indiana. He's building something in Indiana. He's not going anywhere. He's going to keep rocking that thing and getting it done. PJ, Liberty is 7-0. They just extended Hugh Freeze's contract through 2026. He now can boast of having 2 ACC wins. Liberty had never defeated an ACC team. Then they did it against Syracuse at Syracuse. Then last week, they did it against Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech in a rivalry, well, I shouldn't call it a rivalry game, but in a game that's in-state, Virginia versus Virginia, with Liberty coming from Lynchburg and Virginia Tech coming from Blacksburg. So, Liberty now has 2 ACC wins after not having any. They're both on the road. They've extended their coach, and they're 7-0. Do they go 8-0 against Western Carolina at home?
Absolutely. I'm on the Liberty train now, too. I didn't think much of them at the beginning of the year because they weren't, you got to be big teams, in order to get some type of satisfaction. And I'm a believer of them now, Daniel. I like them a lot.
Yeah, I'm going with Liberty as well. We're going to get this thing done and make it happen. Liberty 8-0, ranked in the nation's top 25 and only going up from here. Next game that we have up here, PJ, for me to ask you about, trying to find if there's any SEC games left on the schedule here this week. Let's see, I'm looking through here.
Got a big one in Gainesville, buddy. Got a big one in Gainesville.
I know. I was like, I'm sifting through here, and I'm going, are there any games that we can talk about that are still considered? But we have Arkansas at Florida. Arkansas has been a little bit of an interesting team this year. 3-3. They defeated Mississippi State when they were ranked. They defeated Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss and kept the Lane train from scoring 40+, and they defeated Tennessee. What are your thoughts on Arkansas at Florida?
Well, I can definitely tell you that Arkansas is definitely for real. They have Florida's starting quarterback for the last 2 years, Felipe Franks. Grew up right down the road here off on I-10. Went to Florida, did well. Went to graduate transfer. I'm surprised he's in the SEC, but he's doing a hell of a job for them. Yeah. But they're playing at Florida. Florida looked real good against Georgia. They scored so many points so quickly that I couldn't keep up with it. And I don't see Arkansas staying up with them. This will be another high-scoring game, but I think Florida's just got too much offense. And I say that for the rest of the year. I don't see any team in the SEC other than Alabama, perhaps, that can stop Florida's offense.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting when you come play your former team, but they're playing at Florida, and Florida is looking toward the hopes of playing in the college football playoff. I just put the poll up on Twitter Make sure you follow me on there and vote at CallDT. That's CALLDT. The poll that I put up is, will the Florida Gators make it to this year's college football playoff? It was currently 50-50 this morning. So make sure you keep voting. PJ and I will talk about that as we continue to rock from here in the coming weeks. But PJ, 2 NFL games I want to shift to here. I want to get your thoughts on it. Will Joe Burrow shock Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh right now has Ben Roethlisberger in the COVID-19 protocol stuff going on. So Mason Rudolph could be taking over at quarterback. Cincinnati has been close in games. Pittsburgh has been very close in games too. Granted, they're undefeated, but their schedule doesn't look that great with the points that they've scored and the margin of victories that they've had. Does Cincinnati shock Pittsburgh, especially if Ben Roethlisberger isn't there?
No, but Joe Burrow deserves an awful lot of credit for what he's doing. Pittsburgh's defense is awesome. They are just typical Mike Tomlin team. I mean, you got it. Big Ben is going to score the points, but Mike Tomlin loves defense, and he loves this team. And Joe Burrow is going to get a real case of the ass this week, buddy. You have been on it. I'm going back and finding hotkeys from this show, finding those quotable moments from Papa Joe. He's gonna get the ass today. I like wonderful. So I'm gonna pick Cincinnati. I'm a little bit concerned about this game. I'm gonna go with Cincy in this one. I think they've come close. I think that there's a good chance that somehow, some way, Pittsburgh can find it. Yes, but if Mason Rudolph is your quarterback and it's not Ben Roethlisberger, it brings it a little bit closer. The only other game I want to ask you, PJ, Buffalo at Arizona. Buffalo's rocking and rolling, and so is Arizona. Buffalo's going on the road to Arizona. Arizona's done some really great things. Buffalo just took down Seattle 44-34. What are your thoughts? This is to me the game of the week. This is 2 high-powered offenses. Kyler Murray deserves all the credit he's doing for what he's doing over there. The Allen kid for Buffalo is just a big stud, man. He is something. And this is going to be a high-scoring game, too. So the defense is going to take a rest in this game. I really like Arizona in this game just because they're playing at home.
Yeah, I'm giving Arizona the slight edge being at home as well. And I think it's Kyler Murray versus Josh Allen, which is fantastic, but I'm gonna give the slight edge here. I think the quarterback battles have been incredible. I think the Tua versus Justin Herbert this weekend, the Tua versus Kyler Murray, the Kyler Murray versus Josh Allen. We are a spoiled bunch of NFL fans for these last few weeks, and just because we have a season in general. So I'm going with Arizona as well in this, but I hope and I believe it'll be a great game. With that being said, Papa Joe, we somehow, some way ran through this thing really quick this week, and that's because we are having a great time per always. I thank you, I love you, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Okay, catch you later. Bye.
Take care. So that's that coming from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We will take a step aside for a fast break. When we spin back around on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we will be joined by Nathaniel Joseph, 2023 wide receiver out of Miami Edison in Miami, Florida, who has plenty of offers, including one from Syracuse. We'll talk with him about that and so much more right after this fast break where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We appreciate you being here, and thank you so much.
The city with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here. which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.